What's the best way to immigrate to the U.S.? Through employment without making an investment, but without having a job offer. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Charles Raether. I'm the managing partner at AmLaw Group, where for more than 20 years, we've been assisting clients with this and other related immigration questions to the U.S. Let's talk about NIW. NIW stands for National Interest Waiver. It's a subcategory of the EB-2 classification, and it's very similar to an EB-2 visa, but the only difference is, and it's a substantial one, is that there's no job offer that's required from an employer. But you have to show that you're kind of the creme de la creme, you're at the top of your field, and you're providing specifically, as the name implies, something that's in the national interest of the United States, thus justifying the waiver for the job offer requirement. So what's considered in the national interest and how good you have to be in your field? First of all, you need to have generally a master's degree or higher. If you don't have a master's degree, then you have to show that you have exceptional abilities in the arts, sciences, business, et cetera, et cetera. If you don't have the master's, I wouldn't say it's the end of the road for you. We've had clients that did not have a master's degree. It's a little bit extra of compliance and verification that you have to prove, but it's doable. The next step is showing specifically that your activity or your planned activities that your work in the past in your home country and in the US will be in the national interest of the US. And this is where things get a little bit hairy. It's very subjective, it's very vague. What exactly is in the national interest of the United States and what constitutes meeting the national interest? And this, I would say, is where the individual adjudicating officer, his or her mood, experience, point of view plays a huge role. It's very subjective, very difficult sometimes, and if you go to another officer, they might immediately see the value. So it's quite difficult in that regard. Generally, what is needed for an NIW is you've got to show that the activity, the planned activity of the applicant has some national import to the United States, and you have to show that the applicant is well positioned to realize or effect that. So for example, if we say, a client is a big genius in AI technology, and let's say he's going to launch his new AI company in the United States, but they look at the background and the guy has, last 10, 15 years, maybe nice position, but he's never run a business, never really overseen a lot of people, maybe he's never had any kind of subordinates. The government, for example, might question, is this person well positioned to realize their goal of creating a new company in the US, hiring 30 people, 50 people, ramping up? Now, there's generally two approaches we take with an NIW. One, we have the client open up a business, a company. We can create the company for them, create a business plan, and explain what their activity is going to be. Generally, it's based on their prior history and saying that they're going to realize their talent through this newly formed company in the US and offer their services or product through that manner. That's probably the majority of the NIWs that we perform for our clients. The other option is we don't have a job offer per se from a US company or companies, but we get letters of support where they do express a keen interest in working with the applicant when he comes here, or even basically make a job offer. So it's not a job offer in the sense of the I-140, EB-2, EB-3 context where you have an employer, they pay the prevailing wage based on the Department of Labor numbers. You have to go get a labor certificate, all that stuff. You're avoiding all of that administrative hassle, but we nevertheless show that, hey, there's a couple of US companies very interested in hiring this person because he or she is super talented, and this helps to prove the national interest prong. The other option for getting a green card without a job offer is an EB-1A. EB-1A theoretically has higher requirements to satisfy, higher than the NIW, but it's much more objective. From 15 plus years of doing this, we have had much greater success with EB-1As than NIWs. The EB-1A has, I believe, 8 or 9 categories. You have to qualify for 3 of them or more, and showing that you meet the criteria of at least 3 or more. And these criteria include high salary, awards and prizes, significant contribution to the field, publications about you or publications you have made yourself, such as in scientific journals and stuff like that. So it's much more objective. You meet this criteria, you meet this one, and you go forward. Very rarely, although it's happening, do we have clients that meet the 3 criteria, but they're still not approved. But I'm happy to say, even in those cases where they met the 3 criteria and there was challenges, we always were able to overcome those challenges, or we would just refile, making some small tweaks or changes, and still get approvals. So overall, our approval rate is higher with EB-1A. Having done this about 15 years, I believe we've only had one denial for an EB-1A in all this time. Unfortunately, I can't say the track record is as good with the NIWs. It's still the vast majority of NIW applicants receive an approval as well, but it's not as good as that 99% rate that we have with the EB-1As. So those are basically the differences between the EB-1A and the NIW. But in any case, both of these options are very good options. Your background and activity really is an important factor in determining which of these two options we select. And that's why it's very important to have a consultation with an experienced attorney who can guide you and say which of these two or any other option might be good and come up with the best action plan for you and your family. Again, if this was of value to you, please click on the like button. Better yet, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our future episodes. And if you're interested in taking the next steps, please reach out to us for assistance.